Hello, you're watching Avenue X, and today I want to talk about a Chinese idol period drama that has started airing since March the 6th on both Tencent and iQIYI, 逐玉 Pursuit of Jade. This is a 40 episodes period drama that is based on an existing novel, adapted by 3 scriptwriters, directed by the, so far, in my opinion, most successful Chinese idol drama directors in the last couple of years, Zeng. The project was announced back in 24 December when they started. The first thing I noticed was the director's name, and then I look at the lead actor, Zhang Linhe and Tian Xinwei, and my first reaction was, this might be these 2 actors' lucky strike. Based on the track record of this director, he has the magical touch of making actors who look good but kind of don't really work out of a chemistry on screen suddenly work. And I've been really wanting to see if that would turn out to be a case, and finally, as a controlled experiment, prove again that in idol drama land, actually a good director probably would determine the success or failure of a narrative at the percentage of at least 80%. As a general statement, I've watched all the episodes up to now, which is I think 14, 15, something like that, because it has an odd number. I really don't have a huge problem about anything. And actually, most of the things I get from this drama is good surprises. It's the only drama I really want to click open every day. Even though there are other dramas going on, I just like, the other ones feels like homework. This one feels like entertainment, you know? First, what the story is about. Since I am not an original novel reader, so I'll just talk about what I've seen in the drama. It is set in a fictional dynasty, although the looks of things, particularly in court, does remind you a lot of Song dynasty. Our female lead character, played by Tian Xinwei, is a butcher's daughter in a small village. And she's got a younger sister. And at the beginning of their story, she just lost her parents to bandits. Although later you'll find out probably that's not true. So she's taking over her father's business and becoming a butcher herself to raise her younger sister. After one business trip she's made on her way home in winter, when it's snow covered, bumped into somebody, literally, like she tripped over them, because the guy is injured and he's covered by snow. And that's our male lead character, played by Zhang Linhe. She's a good person to the point that even though she knows she's poor and she doesn't have any resources, she still saves this guy. He stayed and agreed to marry into her family, because that's her way of keeping her house, as her parents just passed away, and if she doesn't get married, then the house will go to her elder uncle. Anyway, so they settled in the village and married, and obviously the guy is not just an average guy. He's the male lead, right? It cannot possibly be. And then later you'll also find out the female lead is not just an average butcher's daughter. Although she doesn't know, because her parents kind of hid their origin from their children and trying to hide away from their past. It's a 40 episode story, so eventually it's gonna end up in court, and it's gonna get like in the middle of the power struggle of all the powerful people. And in that sense, it's not that different from all the other web novels that exist in this genre in China. Without spoiling you too much, that's what I can say about 逐玉's basic story. Now let's talk about the good and bad. For the drama itself, I really cannot find anything that I have a problem that I need to list as a point and complain about. The only negative things I could see about this drama actually all come from outside of the drama. And it's kind of awkward, the situation. On one hand, you can see that the platform, Tencent particularly, seems to be a little bit desperate to kind of trying to jack the number and traffic and whatever performance of this drama really high. So there probably is some kind of manipulation on the back end of its numbers. Other things I noticed, which is I do not understand. Maybe it's because this drama has great potential to be explosive, therefore everybody is trying to stamp it down before it can actually reach. Right after the drama aired, there are so many videos literally on China's social media, Bilibili, Xiaohongshu, everywhere you go, that are made to criticize this drama in every angle imaginable, and some of them does not even make sense. It's like people haven't really watched the drama and they started to say the wrong things about it. It reminds me of a couple of dramas treatment in the last couple of years that to me is like somebody intentionally did this, and I don't know who they are, but it's kind of so heavy-handed. It's obvious. And I'm not saying that you have to trust me, because you're like, what do I have to prove that? But honestly, since I've never received 1 cent from anybody to say good or bad about any drama or any actors or anything of that, I just look at that and I laugh. So, good things about 逐玉. Number 1, aesthetic pleasure in every department imaginable. When you go to an idol period drama, everything and everyone is pretty. So pretty people, you're gonna get a lot, and they're shot very prettily. Framing, very nice. Lighting, very nice. Movement, nice. Or not having movement, also nice. What gets shot for what sequences, nice. Atmosphere. How the drama uses, for example, natural sceneries, wind, snow, when it slows down, when it pushes close. Every moment of it, right, has kind of a purpose. And this is the trait of this director. If you've watched Blossom 九重子, the sort of longer dramas he's done, or even earlier ones, the super short dramas, a couple of episodes or 15 minutes per episode dramas, where he plays the actors, how he designed the shots, how he used that with music, and then even how he directs actors to give you a very consistent, very purposeful, directional storytelling that you know you're being led by a very professional director every step, so that you don't misinterpret things, you know where the story goes, you know who those characters are, and it's a very safe environment of narrative. And there are so many what we call 人生镜头, which is lifetime shot of those actors. I watched like 5 episodes and I wrote on Weibo, I'm saying the actors, particularly the leads, right? They should literally build a shrine for this director. And incense, like put incense on every day while he's still alive, right? Just to pay respect and thank him. This drama has shots of them that 50 years later, when they're grandpa and grandma, they can show their grandchildren and see, look at your grandfather and mother, right? That's how good we look back then, right? That's like digital heirloom. One thing I want to point out, which I highly appreciate, is most of the story so far happens in the village of our female lead character. And I noticed so much lived in design detail of that village, just the human landscape. From the architecture to the plants to the seasonal kind of, obviously it's fake, it's a set, it's not real snow, but they're trying to make it look very lived in. And even the details on fences and railings, they intentionally, I think, made everything look extremely organic. There's no harsh straight line, there's no perfect carpentry. So it's trying to make it look like people just grab a branch, and whatever the branch looks like in natural form, it doesn't get cut or polished into perfect shape, it just gets put there. So all the fences are like curved, the doors are not perfectly like perpendicular, and it reminds you of the Sims game 4 where they have the fairy expansion pack where it has all those organic shapes of doors and windows. I'm 100% sure it's intentionally done by the production design to give you that impression that this place is real but not so real, and it's just lovely because it needs to contrast with the cold and regular and world court, which represented by the male lead, and then when the two world clashes, you'll see something tragic happens. Honestly, I don't see that kind of intentional design in 99.9% of Chinese idol dramas. It's kind of a step beyond their normal duty. Usually you see this kind of thing in films, not in dramas, because it means extra money spent and energy, and for what? Most audiences will not even notice. I highly appreciate it. I really love the production design of this drama. It's one of my favorite ancient time villages in recent years in period dramas. And then how he shot it, like the way he designed where people, extras are walking, how the light comes in, what kind of winter landscape you want to show, right? By a river, a little bridge, or a persimmon fruit tree in snow. It's all just so beautiful. So if you want beauty of all kinds in a drama, you should go for this one. Probably this will be the only one that looks like this in 2026. Number 2, if you want to see what Zeng Qingjie does best in an idol romantic drama, which is capture in between the two main characters, every moment or every twist of that tension. Every line people speak would create a reaction from the person they're speaking to, and there's like the pace, the beat, the rhythm change, and the looks and the atmosphere, the silence in between, how long it is, how short it is, what shot you use to cover that, how you lit the scene, all those things that paces the sort of thing in your heart when you watch a very intimate moment in a romantic drama. If you want to feel that kind of perfect control, and therefore at the end of that scene, it reaches the intended result of making the audience's butterfly go, crazy in their stomach. This is what this director does best. If you want that, there are so many moments like that in this drama. It's gonna spoil you and make every other idol drama looks like 不解风情. Almost in a way, like it does not matter if it's Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei, where in previous dramas I've seen them, like there's like stone, wooden, like pretty people that just doesn't have anything going on. I just feel every actor can be a good actor if the director knows how to use them. And in this case, it's clear that Zeng Qingjie knows exactly what are the tiny things that work on camera, and he would direct them. In interviews after the drama on like the platforms, you can see the two actors talking about how detailed he would direct them for all the intimate and romantic moment. And they were saying the director is a master of it. He knows everything. Like, we don't know how like this works, and he would direct them to the minute details so that it works out that kind of tension between. And that happened too in Blossom. When you look at the interviews of that drama between Meng Zi and Li Yunrui, even how they kiss was like directed by the director. Every frame and every action, it's like how they kiss and how they shift their head and how, you know, it looks good for the camera and it works for the chemistry. Thank heavens this director directed this drama, and then again, Zhang Linghe and Tian Xiwei should thank him so much. I really haven't seen another Chinese idol drama land director who can do this well. Previously, probably Fairy and Devil's director can also do something similar to this, but he hasn't really worked in any dramas for years. I don't know if he's quit it. So apart from him and Zeng Qinjie, I really can't think of another person. So get in early because you're probably not gonna get another one this year. Third, I do not have proof, but I highly suspect, even though the story already exists as a novel and then it got adapted by 3 script writers, most likely when it actually got to the moment when they shoot it, Zeng Qinjie, the director, had a lot to do with exactly what was said in one scene, what gets cut, what gets kept, and maybe he manipulated what gets spoken and how it gets spoken between the actors. Because just watch 2 episodes, you'll clearly feel there is a lot of the director's input in how the characters gets built up by their actions and their words, even though he's not credited as the writer. It just doesn't read like something that he has never tampered with, and he only does the direction? No way. He definitely controlled the characters also. The result is consistent and believable characters given the circumstances that they're in. I really highly appreciate the fact that for the 2 leads, neither of them is a very almost written for the formula character, which means often in this type of dramas, you set up characters intentionally to give them a so-called dramatic arc. They're naive about the world and then they get taught a lesson and they become like 黑化, right, turned black. For example, Empress in Palace, the female lead character, right, from where she started till the end. And often people just mistaken a clear sort of changed arc as good character or well-written character. Whereas so far you can see is these 2 people don't go through significant changes. They've had their own difficulties in life, but it never really therefore made them bad, right? They stayed very true and very good. And it is in that kind of world where wars are raging on and the world is not safe and peaceful, how their own determination to have a good life and then being a good person at the same time can keep them afloat and make them move forward and always facing big or smaller challenges every day with that kind of positive outlook and being able to control where their life is heading towards. I really appreciate that because I find it's easy to stick tags on everything. Sometimes you mistake the formula as the truth or as the real good things about a character. Sometimes you don't think of them as real people. You don't put yourself in their shoes. You're using them as tools for your narrative purposes and whatever. Whereas so far, both characters are actually they're just good people. They started good and they were gonna end good. I mean, challenges are gonna come. They probably are gonna make difficult choices, but they don't need to suddenly turn bad and suddenly got taught a lesson, therefore become more matured, but then no longer as good as they were. And a lot of story go for that. They want the character to turn bad in a way, to turn complicated in a way, therefore it kind of like serves an arc. And this drama is definitely not going down that route. And you know, why not? Like, this actually probably is more realistic in life. Think about the people you know in your life, right? How many people actually 黑化 in their life? If they're good, they kind of stay good. Really nasty people, they kind of are always nasty. Because we see too many that type of idol drama characters and story, and you kind of get tired and you find it's not really honest. And for these 2 actors, Tian Xiwei and Zhang Linghe, really does them a lot of like adding on their points and giving them portfolios of good work. Tian Xiwei, her face, look at her face, right? She's suited perfectly for this kind of having raw living energy, bubbling sunshine girl who doesn't have to be like always smiling and be nice. She's actually quite strong and she can be very brutal in the story and she's good at fighting. Like a grass that's gonna break through any rocks on top of her and never yield. And this drama really brings that out and makes her look just like even prettier than most of the other dramas I've seen her in. For example, that Demon Cat drama led with Xu Kai where nothing really works. I just can't get anything. And in this one, you immediately feel she's a real living person. You can hear her speak and you can hear her laughter. If there's a situation, right, you imagine in your head, you can immediately see Changyu's character in 主语 drama, how she would say things and act. It's so easy for your brain to generate a consistent video in your own head about this character because she feels like a real person. Whereas, for example, that drama, apart from she's got a very pretty face and hairstyle, I can't see her moving. She's just like a 2D print. It just happens to be that she's also super strong in real life, although she's like skinny. She can carry Zhang Linghe running around. Amazing, given he's so tall. It adds that credibility. You actually don't need to question because you know she can do it in real life. As for Zhang Linghe, the good thing about his character in this drama is he doesn't zhongbi. Although he is, because of his birth and his power as a military general and Marcus and actually having armies under his command, and he's very famous for brutalizing enemy. He has basically no need to pretend and to show off because he's already really powerful. So he has this kind of ease, even though he's like hidden in a village and he doesn't have immediate help from everywhere. You almost feel like he always isn't that worried about things because he really is in every sense a much more powerful being than a lot of other people around him. The only people who are always trying to show off they're stronger are people who are actually insecure because, you know, they want to impress and they know they're not really as good. Whereas in this case, he's just like, actually, if he wants to destroy anyone, he could just do it. Therefore, he doesn't need that. That makes this character a lot more relaxed. And compared to his previous characters I can think of, like in Ning'an Rumeng, for example, another Quan Chen, another subject of the court that actually has a lot of power. Or even earlier, Yun Zhiyu in the fictional world where he's like the leader of the clan in the future. There's so much pretentious kind of power there. And he's trying to impress other people, or he's trying to play a powerful person. Neither the actor nor the character on paper, nor really like the director understand where true power comes from. Therefore, they play him in a way that just doesn't convince you that he's actually a powerful person. It feels like playing house, a kid trying to get into the adult's shoes. Whereas so far in this drama, although he's still a very typical classic web novel male lead character of a lot of power who just isn't really letting people know in the beginning stage of the story, they play him in a way that makes sense, right? And then also it's good for the actor because when he's more relaxed and doesn't need to be pretentiously powerful, he can actually pay attention to the details of the scenes, right? As a human being, as a person in that circumstances, how would he react and act with the other people in the story? So that kind of relaxed sense really brings out a more charisma and charm of this person. His vibe in this story really reminds you of a little bit of the variety show he was in last year, in the Detective The Truth variety show from Tencent, where he's basically in the story as himself, quotation mark. And some of the, I'd say, charm I get from him in that variety show kind of shows up in this drama too. And you just don't see that in his previous stories because previous stories, characters, script quality, direction just doesn't allow that to happen. And also he's got a good looking face if you know how to shoot. Zeng knows how to make people look pretty. One final point, unrelated to the drama itself, but maybe still related, that's from me, that made me just love this drama a little bit more than usual. It is so Where Wings Meet. From the title sequence, it reminds me already of the game. The snowy village scene, how that gets directed reminds me of some cut sequences from the game. And the first shot that opens is Shadow Puppet. You can go literally in the game, sit down and watch puppet show that looks exactly like what is the opening shot of this drama. Then the village reminds you like so much of the villages in Qinghe and also in Kaifeng. This guy who was actually face swapped because the original actor, although he's not cancelled, he was in BL dramas that should not happen, therefore preemptively the drama changed his face. Anyway, this character when he showed up looking like that, I burst out laughing because if you play the game, he looks exactly like NPC from Where Wings Meet. Like the hat, just the look of the person, he might as well just walked out of the game. There's a dream sequence that is from Zhang Linghe's character, strips of cloth like hanging in the room and floating in the air. That reminds you of first a boss of the royal palace that hasn't happened on global server of the game yet, but also reminds you of next month in April on global server when you open a snowy map, you're gonna run into a main plotline that has a sequence like in the dream that has the exact same thing going on. And there are just so many imageries and the way even the stories are put together in the visual that reminds you first of the cutscenes and also the world setup of what you have in Where Where Winds Meet. Even when this male character shows up recently with his hair, the semi kind of gray hair, first reaction I had when I look at this character, I'm like, that hairstyle is a game hairstyle, not a drama hairstyle. That's a harmonic core hair. I highly suspect this director actually was a game player of the similar types of game that NetEase has released, because this drama started shooting in December 24 and Where Winds Meet came out December 24. It wouldn't be that the game could directly influence the drama. They happen at the same time. But half a year before that, they actually put out testing key codes for people to try the game and give them feedback. And they usually would release that to game players, but also people within this sort of like drama making industry. Very likely, this guy actually got the testing code of this game early on. Or he played other games from NetEase like 逆水寒 before this. You can feel this sort of similar aesthetics and sense of world. I did find out in interviews that both Zhang Lihe and the director, they're both like gamers. They intentionally designed certain things in this drama that looks like what they get in the game. Even before I watched that interview, I had a strong impression that this director is a gamer and he plays similar games in this kind of world-built setting, and some of the aesthetics are very coherent. If I ever in my life get an opportunity to talk to this director directly, the first thing I would ask is, are you Where Winds Meet player? Has any of those games influenced how you like build up your world in period drama? And you can also say drama making or film making influences the game's cutscene designs and character designs and storytelling, because it's very cinematic. If you play the game and a couple of its main plot is highly cinematic, you don't even question the people who design those things come from filmmaking and television making. They probably just don't have as much freedom. So my point being, I really highly appreciate a gamer director. And occasionally when the drama reminds me too much of the game, I will just text another industry friend who happens to be watching the drama at the same time, but also happens to also play the game. So that should be the end of this video. I so far had a lot of fun and pretty much nothing bad I want to say about Zhu Yu. I hope the rest of like 25 episodes of this drama are gonna keep the quality. I think it's gonna add so much credit to everybody involved in this project, even the supporting actor who has been in many other dramas. He really hasn't looked this good. When he showed up in this drama, I'm like, wow, another good looking guy who just is unique. And I know he's been in other dramas, I've seen him, but he's like nowhere near impressively looking as he like looks in this drama. It is so far the best idol period drama I've seen in 2026 and may well end up being the best of this year in this category, although we're only in the first quarter of 2026. That should be the end of this video. Thank you for watching Avenue X. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama watching.